Hello, and welcome to this review of the Fifth Avenue Rebels historical romance book series by Joanna Shupe. I'm Olivia, your new favorite resource for book recommendations you can easily screenshot, and you're watching Random Olive Reads. So we'll start off here with The Heiress Hunt, which is book one, and it takes place in Gilded Age New York and Rhode Island. So in this series, or this book, Harrison Archer is back in town after living in Paris for the past 3 years. His horrible family is broke, and he's intent on finalizing their financial ruin. While they want him to marry an heiress to pay off their debts, he only has eyes for his childhood friend, Maddie Webster, who broke his heart years ago by declaring that she only thinks of him as a brother. With the time apart, he's hoping that she will change the way she sees him. Now, I'm a total sucker for the emotional gut wrench of rejection, even though Maddie had no idea that she was the cause of Harrison's departure. So now Maddie is trying to, for some reason, help Harrison find a bride, even though it was all a ruse and he just wanted to use the Newport house party as a way to get close to her again. And by the way, she's kind of almost engaged to a duke. Messiness all around. Still, Maddie was incredibly stubborn in this book and totally oblivious to the fact that Harrison has loved her for years, even though everyone else in the world has seen it. It is a great setup for all the other characters that will feature in the remainder of the series. So, after reading this one, I was really looking forward to reading the rest of the books. The Lady Gets Lucky is book two of the series, and about half of this book takes place at the same Newport house party as book one. So it's fun to read these two back to back. We have shy and quiet Alice, who asks Scoundrel Kit for lessons in seduction so that she'll be able to find a husband who wants her for more than her dowry. She's got a terribly overbearing mother, needs to get out from under her thumb. Meanwhile, Kit has already been warned away from all the innocent debutantes, so he's hesitant to help her, even though he's instantly attracted to her offer. When Kit finds out that Alice is friendly with a famous chef who he's trying to hire for his new supper club, he wants a way to buy those recipes. Alice is a shrewd negotiator, though, so it looks like she'll get her seduction lessons after all. Now, reading these two flirt with each other was super fun. Alice learns a bit more confidence, and Kit turns into someone who's less sure and less suave, but more of an honest type of guy. I really enjoyed this one. The Bride Goes Rogue is book three, and we have Catherine, who we met in book one. She's finally going to settle those wedding details with her fiance that her father arranged, only to find out that Preston had no intention of marrying her at all. He's got this long-standing grudge against her father for abandoning Preston's family in their time of financial turmoil, so basically wants nothing to do with their family and kind of seeing ulterior motives when there may or may not be any. With Catherine suddenly unengaged, she's ready to find an affair, so she goes to a masked ball with her friend and meets a man there. Well, when she goes to meet with the man again in an unmasked situation for a follow up tryst at his apartment, she finds out that it was Preston all along, and he also did not realize it was Catherine. So these two spend a lot of time fighting and somehow call a truce, then fall into an affair with each other with no intention of marriage. It's messy and complicated. Meanwhile, Preston's still mad at her father. There's some like real estate dealings happening. Catherine's trying to open an art museum. There's just a lot going on. Catherine is also dealing with her own father, moving on from her late mother. And in the background, we kind of see the poor Duke of Lockwood not being able to catch a break. So the Duke Gets Even is book four of the series, and it looks like the final book of the series. If you've read the first three books, you'll have seen hints of an uneasy relationship between our good friend Nellie and the Duke of Lockwood. Nellie is everyone's scandalous best friend with knowledge about affairs and men. Meanwhile, the destitute Duke of Lockwood needs an American heiress to marry for money. In book one, he was engaged to Maddie for like a day before that didn't work out. In book two, he's almost courting our favorite sweet Alice until he realizes that Kit is in the picture and bows out. He's like, I know how this one's going to end. In book three, he's pretty much sworn off courting anyone from this like unlucky friend group, but still is friendly with Catherine. Well, we finally get to see his true nature and desires here in book 4 with our dear Nellie. So we go back to the beginning of the Newport house party from book 1 and 2, where Lockwood and Nellie meet as strangers at the beach at midnight. And after some flirting and some kissing, they plan for a tryst the next night. However, when Lockwood shows up at the house party the next day in the daylight and is introduced to all the guests, he and Nellie realize that the connection is impossible and over. We go through 6 months of everybody else finding their match in the first 3 books, and so Nellie's other friends are all settled. Nellie is feeling listless and aimless since all her friends are married, they don't really need her anymore, plus Lockwood's still looking for that docile and wealthy bride. What starts out as angry flirting turns into an angry affair, with neither of them wanting to engage their hearts and emotions. Lockwood has his own secrets of like health issues. Nellie is unwilling to risk her emotions after her mother died at a young age. So, all around stubbornness. One important side story here is Nellie's work in educating women on contraception and taking control of their reproductive rights. I appreciated seeing this play out in a historical setting and then seeing Nellie's championing of women's education on the subject, even though it gets her into a bit of trouble later on. So, overall thoughts. Although I enjoyed the series, it seemed to be a bit repetitive to have 3 stories back to back of people kind of having these affairs with each other and unwilling to invest in any deeper emotions. It's pretty much what happens in books 2, 3, and 4. Um, Also a bit of like inconsistencies here. While the side character of one book is like the wise one, nudging their friend to make a commitment, they're unable to do so in their own story just a short time later. I think when binge reading a whole series in about half a week, it's easy to pick up on inconsistencies that might not be as apparent to readers who pick up one book at a time. The level of familiarity that the characters have with each other isn't terribly consistent either. While it seems like the gentlemen are meeting the women for the first time at the house party in book 1, suddenly in book 2, Nellie and Kit are chummy enough to be for her to give him advice. And then in book 3, we find out that Kit knew the name of Preston's supposed fiance, although we meet Catherine in book 1 as a potential bride for Harrison. Now, I understand we probably were not supposed to know about Catherine's betrothal until we get to her book, but it kind of makes for an untidy reveal when the guys in the group know about this fiance and clearly know her name. Sometimes the connections do make sense though, like Kit and Alice's interactions during the house party between book 1 and book 2, and then Nellie and the Duke's interactions within the first 3 books. So I appreciate when things are woven more tightly together. The other thing that kind of bugged me a little bit was the familiarity of how they address each other. So in this kind of time and place in history, if you're not familiar with the person, you tend to be more formal with how you call them by name. Like it would be Miss Webster or Miss Lusk or Miss Young or whatever their last names are. And the guys would be like Mr. So and so and things like that. So to hear them referred to by first name between 2 people who aren't really supposed to be friends in the story makes it kind of strange. Now, it makes it easier as the audience to know who's being talked about, but it's just a strange level of formality when I'm used to seeing books written a little bit more cleanly in that respect. But overall, I enjoyed the stories. If you can overlook those kind of small details, I wouldn't worry too much about it. And probably not read all 4 books back to back. Maybe read books 1 and 2 back to back, take a break, then come back to 3, take another break, come back to 4, and it'll be much more enjoyable that way. Thank you so much for watching this video. Links to all of these books are in the description box. Like and subscribe so you don't miss future videos, and you can follow me on Instagram at randomolive.